Hello, Deepika madam.
Good morning, ma'am.
क्वेश्चन पेपर तैयार किया है तुम्हारा
Hello, sir.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to the meeting program, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
it is there. It's a download. Shall I mute on? Deepika madam, this is
Ma'am.
madam, Vigyan University Professor of ECE. Welcome to Vigyan University, madam. On behalf of Atal and on behalf of Vigyan University, we are very thankful to you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am.
Participants, welcome back to the day 4 session 1. Now we are having Deepika madam with us. My colleague Miss Divya is going to introduce the speaker of the today's session to all of us. I request Divya madam, please introduce the Deepika madam to all the participants. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, everyone. I am honored to introduce our eminent resource person, Dr. Deepika Kundal. Madam is currently associated with the University of Petroleum and Energy Studies, Dehradun. She received her the recognition and honorary membership from Nutrosophic Science Association from University of Mexico, USA. Madam received the master's and PhD degrees in computer science and engineering from the Punjab University, Chandigarh in 2015. She received the BTech degree in computer science and engineering from Kurukshetra University, India. She is the awardee of Research Excellence Award given by Chitkara University in 2019. She has published more than 40 research articles in reputed SCI and Scopus Index journals, conferences, and 2 books. She is currently a guest editor in Journal of Computers and Electrical Engineering Elsevier, Internet of Things Elsevier, and IEEE Transaction of Industrial Informatics. She also has served on many technical program committees as well as organizing committees and invited to give guest lectures and tutorials in faculty development programs, international conferences, and summer schools. She has also served as reviewer in many reputed journals of IEEE, Springer, Elsevier, IET, Hindawi, Wiley, and Sage. Now I hand over the session to our beloved resource person, Dr. Deepika Kundal, to carry. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such a nice introduction, as well as giving me this opportunity for giving a talk in this FTP, a part of FTP. Thank you, Dr. Usha, for inviting me. Let me share my slides here.
Yes, ma'am.
I believe my slides are visible.
Yes, madam.
Is it okay, sir?
Okay, okay, madam.
Yeah, okay. So today I'm going to give a talk on the pre-processing of medical images. Basically, in pre-processing, number of things can be covered like enhancement, denoising, fusion. So in today's topic, we are basically focusing on denoising, and for enhancement, we are focusing on image fusion. Okay, so let's proceed. So this is the book which we have published last year on biomedical image analysis. All the computational techniques are there related to denoising, segmentation, fusion, classification, compression using deep learning techniques or other soft computing techniques. So the outline, as I have discussed, that today we are going to discuss about image denoising and image fusion. So we are going to cover classical based methods as well as learning based methods for both denoising and fusion. So the first question is that why there is a need of image pre-processing. So as we know that sometimes what happened whenever we are getting any image, it is not up to the mark for post-processing operations. Sometimes there are some marks, sometimes there are some labels presented, okay, which creates a problem while doing some post-processing operations like segmentation or classification. So image pre-processing is the term for operations on images at the lowest level of abstraction. So it is also known as a low level operations of an image processing. So these operations do not increase the image information content, but in fact they decrease it if entropy is an information measure, right? So the pre-processing we are doing to improve an image so that we can suppress the undesired distortions or enhance some features which are relevant for further processing, as I have told, like for segmentation or for classification. So the motive is to enhance the quality of an image, and if the noise is present there, we need to remove that. So there are a number of medical imaging modalities available: ultrasound, X-rays, MRI, CT, PET, and many more. But every image is corrupted with its own noise. We can't say that every image has a similar type of noise. So if I'm talking about a natural images, so it may be possible it is corrupted from a Gaussian noise. Okay, ultrasound noise could be corrupted from a spectral noise, which is a form of a multiplicative noise. Similarly, in MRI we have found Raysian noise. So different types of modalities have different types of unwanted signals, and these unwanted signals are known as a noise. So generally there are two types of categories of noise. One is additive noise and another one is multiplicative noise. So basically noise, as I have told you, that these are unwanted signals which are presented in an image. What is an image? Image is again a signal, 2D signal. That's why we are saying it is a 2D image. Okay. So this image is corrupted with some noise. Noise is unwanted signals, unwanted energy, which may be happened during the acquisition process. It added to an image during acquisition or due to transmission or due to reconstruction of an image. So this noise we have to remove, we have to eliminate. Okay, so it can be reduced at the acquisition time. Nowadays the hardware machines are very good, so some features are there that we can automatically remove the noise, and post processing of acquired imagery using data processing algorithm is used to reduce its effect. So come to the point that I'm telling you that noise are of two types. One is additive noise, second one is multiplicative noise. Okay, additive noise is that noise which is added to an image. Okay, so we can consider this Z is a clean image. Clean image, that there is no noise, it is a very clean image. Okay, and nx comma y is a noise which we are adding to this clean image. In fact, we are creating a here simulated image, okay, by adding a noise. So this fx comma y is your noisy image. I'm repeating, fx comma y is a noisy image, whereas zxy is your clean image and nxy is your noise, which we are adding it to the image pixel, each image pixel. Now you all know that image is a form of 2D matrix, And in 2D matrix, we have some pixel values which have some numbers. So when we are going to add some numbers on that, in that number, then the values would get changed. Okay, so that is your additive noise. But in multiplicative noise, what happened? The multiplicative noise, the noise gets multiplicated by a clean image. Okay, which is very difficult to remove. So in order to remove this multiplicative noise, we need to perform logarithmic, and then we are applying some operations. When we are applying logarithmic, it means that we are converted that multiplication image into a noise additive. Okay, so we are going to apply log f is equal to log z plus log n. Okay, so now in this way it becomes a additive noise and it would be easy to remove. So the number of methods for removing this multiplicative noise and additive noise. So as I've told you that the removal of noise from an image is known as a denoising. The motive behind is that we have to preserve the edges and the corners of an image along with the suppression of noise. Sometimes what happened, we applied some filter on an image, and along with the noise, it also eliminate the important features from an image, which is not acceptable in the medical images, because we need some features during the classification. Maybe we have to identify that what type of stage of cancer it is or what type of category of cancer it is. But if we are removing those important features as well along with the noise, it would be problematic, right? So false positive would be more in that case. So we have to make a balance between noise removal and edge preservation. So the types of denoising techniques, like if I'm talking about the classical methods, there are filtering methods, transformation methods, and statistical methods. And then we have a learning based methods in which we have a supervised, semi-supervised, and unsupervised learning. Okay, so we are going to discuss each method one by one. Now you can see in this figure. So this is a diagram, or you can say this GIF is of about a filtering method. Okay, so this is generally giving a general overview to you that how this filtering works. So as you all know, I'm expecting that you all know that what is an image, what is a filter. Okay, so this is an image. Okay, so as I've told you that image is a 2D matrix, so we have a rows and columns here. Okay, so here we have a six columns and 6 rows. So this is our 6x6 image. Okay. Now consider this as a filter. You can also known as it is also known as a kernel, template, window, mask. Okay. So it up to you that whatever you want to tell it. So here we are going to tell it as a kernel or filter. Okay. So it depends upon the value of this filter, that what type of values we are taking. So whatever values we are taking, it will behave according to that filter, right? So now what we are doing, we are convolving this filter over this image. So you can see here that one by one, this filter is convolving and it gets slided by one row and one column. You can see here. Now here in this case, 776, we are making a padding so that these border pixels cannot get eliminated. See, whatever changes we are doing here, it will reflecting in the central pixel. Okay. So this central pixel means if I'm going to replace it on 765, 643, 532, if I'm overlapping this filter over this 765, 643, 532, it will get changed the value at 4 only. Okay. So what about 6? So 6 will be cut out. Okay. So in order to preserve these boundaries, what we are doing, this 765 which we have written over here, we are using padding. So padding can be of different types. It can be, some people what do, they do 0, 0, 0. They add additional rows and column of zeros. Some people add 1, 1, 1 in a form of rows and columns. Some people do mirroring, that whatever value we have in this row, we are just copying those values here. And whatever values we are here in this column, we just copying those values in this additional column. Okay. So in this way, we are convolving this filter one by one over in this image. Okay, and we will get this output. You can see here. Okay, so this is just, we are doing sum of product with a filter and an image. So this is a basically convolution, so which is the basic of your image processing, right? So now, as I've told you that the number of filters like mean filter, average filters, Gaussian filters, median filters, bilateral filters. So whatever values we are taking at this filter and whatever operation we are applying, your value at this output image will get changed. Okay. So now the question is that these filters can't work properly on every type of noise. Some filters will work good on additive Gaussian noise. Some filters work good on salt and pepper noise removal. Okay, so it depends upon the filter and it depends upon your image and it depends upon your type of noise which you want to remove from your image. Okay, so this is just a basic. I would like to tell you one Python sheet with this. I'm just escaping it. I'm going to the collab. I believe my screen is visible. Yes, please respond.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So this is a Google collab sheet, basically which I have opened for you people to show you demo that how this mean filter and Gaussian filter will work. So basically this filter will tell you that how
Excuse me,
basic
ma'am.
filters will work. Yes.
Ma'am, are you showing the Google Colab page?
Yes. Yes.
But I
yes.
can see your PPT only, ma'am.
Me too, ma'am.
Okay. Let me share once again. I hope now it's visible.
No, ma'am. No.
Please. Still not.
No.
Yeah, now it is.
Now okay, ma'am. Now okay.
Okay, that's perfect. Okay, so this sheet is basically to tell you that how basic filters like mean filter, median filter, Gaussian filter will work on the removal of Gaussian noise. So make one thing I want to make you clear that I am an expert in MATLAB. I'm not so much proficient in Python, but still I know some Python, but you can't say that I am a proficient in Python. I'm just intermediate, you can say. But I'm expert in MATLAB. So I develop all these filters in MATLAB on. Okay, so here I try to tell you the things with the Python that how it will work. So here I'm just talking about a Gaussian noise, and I told you that Gaussian noise is a additive noise. Okay, so here what we are doing, we are importing NumPy as NP, import CV2. So you all know that there are number of Python libraries available for image processing. There is OpenCV, Pillow library. Okay, there are number of libraries available and it depends upon your choice on what library you want to work. So here I'm talking about a OpenCV. So import CV2 and then we have using matplotlib import pyplot as PLT. Okay. Then we have a definition for plot, image, title, so that we can display a figure, and on the figure top we can display the title of that figure. We have defined the size of the figure, that what should be the size of the figure. Okay, and I'm sure plt dot I'm sure image is used to your display an image. Okay, so all these are for displaying and figure. Okay, now this is the main thing in OpenCV. If you want to read an image, then you have to write cv2.imread, right? And the path of an image, if you are using Google Colab, then you have to upload your image here with this folder. And if you are using any Python ITL or Anaconda, then you can give a path of your image here. Okay, then we are using CV2 to CV2 color. Sometimes what happened, we have some RGB images, we want to some grayscale image. Okay, then we are using all these commands. So this is not a necessary command here. Then for displaying your image, we are using plot underscore img original image. Img is the variable in which you are reading your image, img. Okay. So you can see the image is displaying in this way. This is what we have defined in a function, title of a figure. So original image title we are displaying. Okay. Now mean filter. So basically mean filter, here again we have to define the function for a filter. So here we are defining the mean kernel filter. Kernel is your filter. You can say mean filter, mean kernel. See, there are, if you have go through the Gonzalez, there is very clearly mentioned that we have number of types of filters, high pass filters and low pass filters. Low pass filters generally we use for smoothing purpose, whereas high pass filters we are using for sharpening the details, right? So here, when we are talking about the mean filter, then mean filter is your low pass filter, and it is used for smoothing. Smoothing means it sometimes, or you can say it is going to blur your image. Okay, then only you can see a smoothen image. So here we're defining a function mean kernel filter. Okay, img, the image you have read, and the size of the filter. See, when I have shown you the slide, there we have taken a 6x6 image, but our filter size is 3x3. Okay, we always take filter in the form of odd number, 3x3, 5 multiplied by 5, or 7 multiplied by 7, 15 multiplied by 15, 25 multiplied by 25. So would you tell me that why we are taking these filter size as a odd number? Why we are not taking it as a even number? Any idea? Okay, think about it and then tell me. Then we are defining the kernel, the filter, what type of value we want to. So we are doing this, or you can simply put a kernel is equal to 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, then second row 1, 1, 1, then third row 1, 1, 1. Okay, so it's up to you. So this is just a mathematical part which we have implemented in this way. Then we are calculating cv2.filter2d img minus 1 kernel. So this is a function of cvt2 filter 2d. We are just calling it, and then we are plotting plot underscore im dst, this one, string size plus x plus string size. Then we are applying this mean kernel. Okay. Now you can see when we have applied this mean kernel, right? So when we are calling this mean kernel, so this is your mean kernel smoothing function which we have defined in this function, right? So mean kernel, this is your image, and we are specifying the size here, that what is the size of your filter. So that's why we haven't written the size of filter here as set in as set. So that's why we have written as set, so that we can call it according to our choice. So here we are calling it as a 5. Okay, so when we have applied mean filter with a 5 size, means we have a 5 rows and 5 column over on this image, it will work as that figure which I have shown you, animated figure. Okay, it will convolve on this image, and you can see this is your original image, which is a sharpened one. And when we have applied a mean filter, you can see this becomes blurred, something blurred. Okay, so it smoothen the image, right? Similarly, when we have applied a size of filter 10, okay, mean kernel smoothing size of 10, then you can see your image gets more blurred. Okay, it's smoothen the image, right? Similarly, if I've taken the size of filter 20, okay, it will show you more blurred image. Okay, I hope the basic is quite clear to you. So here we are working on a removal of additive noise only. Okay, so here we have again, now here what we are doing, we have taken Gaussian blur filter. So we have defined this Gaussian blur filter. Okay, so as same the process which we have done with the mean filter. I'm not going in details with these details. You can go through the Gonzalez. There in that book, it's mentioned very clearly. So again, now by defining this Gaussian filter, we are calling img, the image on which you want to perform the filter, then 5, the size of the filter. Okay, and we have defined the attribute here. Now you can see when we have applied the Gaussian filter over an image, you can see the difference. So here the size, we have taken first the 5. So you can see it will show you this type of an image. When you have applied 21, it will show you this type of an image. When you have applied 21, okay, actually I haven't run it. Just wait. मैंने शुरू से ही नहीं चलाया, just wait. Okay, so when it will run, you can see that at the 5 filter, it will show you some minor blurring. At 21, it will show you more blurring. Okay, so these 21, 27 filters I have taken by default are wrong. So it will show you the same results. Okay, because I have taken 21, 21 here, the same thing by mistake. Okay, so you just compare 5 filter and the image size of 21. So what happened? If you are taking a filter size smaller, okay, it will take more time to convolve your image, right? But it will give you less blurring, right? And if you are taking a large filter, a big size filter, then it will convolve your filter on a faster pace, okay, on a faster pace, but it will blur your image slightly, not so much. It will blur your image more as compared to the size of 5 filter. Okay, so this is a median filter. You can see in median filter, again, we have defined a median filter and then we have applied a median filter of IMG5. Okay, at IMG5, it will show you this image, right? Now, this is what we are assuming that we are applying these filters over an image directly. We haven't simulated that image with a noise. But when you have to corrupt a noise on an image, means when you have to simulate your image with a noise, then how to do that? Now here we are adding the Gaussian noise to your image. Okay, so that's why we are making a function of Gaussian noise in which we are writing image and we have taken a Gaussian variance 1000. Again, now you can change these values according to your choice. Mean we are taking 0, sigma we are taking Gauss variance multiply 0.5. So you can vary it. Okay, you can take any value of your choice, whatever sigma you want to know, you can corrupt the image with that noise and you can see the results. Okay, so this is a Gaussian noise function we have made to, for corrupting an image. And now this one is, we are adding the question, if you have remembered in the slide which I've shown you, f is equal to z plus n. Okay, so here image is your z, this is your clean image, n is your Gaussian noise, which we have made a function here. Okay, so we are making a Gaussian, we are adding a Gaussian noise. So we are adding a Gaussian noise to an image and we will get a noisy image here, right? So in this way we are returning our noisy image. That is a Gaussian noise. And here the function which we have created is for salt and pepper noise. Now what is a salt and pepper noise? You all know that what is a salt. Salt is of a white color. So white dots are salt and pepper is of black color. So black dots are pepper. Okay. So black dots means it is near to the 0 values. And the white dots means that these values are near to the 255 values. Okay. So that's why its color is white. So similarly, we have created a salt noise here and we have created a pepper noise here. Now we are simulating these noises with our image. Okay, so here you can see we have used a number here, Gaussian variance 70. You can use anything and you can hit and trial the method that you can analyze that what happened. Now you can see when we have added this image with this Gaussian noise. Okay, so you can see now the image is, now there is some dots you can see, and in clear image there is no such noise. So this is a Gaussian noise presented in this image. And similarly, if we are going to add a salt and pepper noise, there would be a black and white dots. So when we have applied a Gaussian filter here over this noisy image, you can see that this is a result of a 3 filter, this is a result of a 5 size filter. Okay, and when we have applied a salt and pepper noise on an image, you can see these black and white dots over an image, right? Clear? So these black dots are your pepper noise and white dots are your salt noise. So there are filters, order statistic filters, mean filter and max filter. So max filter is good in removing this uh, salt noise, and mean filter is good for removing your pepper noise, and median filter is good for both salt and pepper noise. Okay, so you can see here Here we are applying a filter, median filter over this image. You can see this image is more clear as compared to the Gaussian filter. You can see this is a Gaussian filter we have applied with the size 5, right? So that's what I have told you, that it depends upon your noise, that what type of noise you want to remove, and according to that you have to use a filter. Okay, now I'm going back to the presentation. So the question which I have asked you is to that why we are taking a size of filter as a odd number. I believe my PPT is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. So the reason for selecting the negative values, that you can you have seen in that slide that whatever values we are changing here in this slide, in this figure, in this figure, see, you can see we are changing the values at the central pixel. Okay, so we have to consider all the neighboring pixels. So that's why we are considering the odd number of filters. If we are taking an even number filter 2 by 2, 4 by 4, then we are not able to replace a central pixel, and it might be possible that we haven't get good results. So you can try it. You can make a filter of 3 by 3 size and apply it to your image. Then you can make a filter of 2 by 2 size or 4 by 4 size and then apply on a filter. Then you can analyze it, what is the difference. Okay. So the filter part I have covered. Now a second type of denoising methods are statistical distribution, which depends upon the probability density function, that is PDF. Okay. So the number of probability density functions available. Again, I suggest you to refer a Gonzalez for noise probability density functions. There it mentioned in a very good way. Gaussian distribution function, we have a Rayleigh distribution functions, gamma distribution functions. But in my work, I have implemented a probability density function based on the Nakagami distribution in order to remove a multiplicative noise. Okay, so I will show you that demo also. So spectral noise is a multiplicative noise which is presented in your ultrasound images. So as I have told you that sometime during acquisition, during the machine settings, due to the machine settings, we have some noise. So in ultrasound, we have some sound noises also along with our ultrasound image. So it reduces the resolution and contrast. It causes a fuzzy and ambiguous and vague structures in tissues, which we have to observe. So this is a multiplicative noise which degrades the quality of ultrasound images. Okay, so we need to remove this noise in order to improve the accuracy of the segmentation techniques. So as I have told you that there are number of methods available based on the gamma distribution function and Rayleigh distribution function, but those methods have some drawbacks, like they can't distinguish between the small structures and textures. They only work on the local features of an images, and some diagnostic information is not properly distinguishable from the surrounding edges. Okay, and as I've told you that we have to make a balance with removal of noise and preserving the edges and texture of an image. So here we have proposed two methods. One is based on a Nakagami distribution function with the help of total variation method. Another method is that we have implemented this Nakagami total variation method in a nutrosophic fuzzy method. Okay, so Nakagami, hello. Then Nakagami statistics is what? As I've told you that we have multiplicative noise. Okay, so you can see this is a multiplicative noise, this is your clean image, and this is a noise. And this is a probability distribution function of a Nakagami noise, which we are going to multiply it with our clean image. Okay, so again, we have to implement it in Python or in MATLAB according to your favorite coding language. Okay, so total variation is what? It is a method which it is a regularizer. It derives the images to be piecewise constant, and it preserves the edges and discontinuities. And it consisting of two terms, data term and regularization term. So this is the proposed algorithm for NTV method. And we have unconstrained problem, which we have converted into a constrained problem, and we have reduced that problem with the help of Chambole rejection method and augmented language method. Okay, so all this we have done in a MATLAB. My slides are not going further. Okay, so whenever you are making any filter, okay, and you have applied that filter over an image, you will get a denoised image. See, there are three things. One is your clean image, and in that clean image, you have simulated a noise, then you will get a noisy image, okay, and after applying a filter, you will get a denoised image. Okay, so we have a three images: clean image, noisy image, and denoised image. Okay, so now when we have applied a filter, okay, as I have told, shown you a collab sheet in which you have made an evaluation on the basis of subjective evaluation, that yes, noise is removed, no, noise is not removed. So that is your subjective evaluation. So there is always two criteria. One is subjective, another is objective. Subjective is your qualitative evaluation, where you can visualize the image and you can say, yes, the image is good, very good, excellent. Okay. Another criteria is your objective evaluation, or you can say quantitative evaluation, which is in a form of some mathematical equations. Okay, like SNR, FSIM, VIF, UQI, EPI, MSSI, MSC, the number of quantitative evaluation metrics are available. You can explore it on a Google. You can get each and everything there. So here what we need, now when you have to calculate this SNR, now as I've told you that we have three images. One is clean image, another is noisy image in which we have simulated the noise, and the third one is your denoised image, right? Now for SNR, what you have to input, you have to input a clean image, okay, and a denoised image. You don't need to put a noisy image. You have to check that how much your denoised image is comparable to a clean image. Okay, so we have to pass these two images. One is your clean image, that is your ground truth image, and another one is your resultant image, which is your denoised image. Okay, so we have used all these evaluation metrics in our work, and we have used all these methods for comparison purpose. All these methods are based on total variation method, but some are based on gamma distribution function, some are based on Gaussian distribution function, some are based on Rayleigh distribution function. Okay, but our technique is based on Nakagami total variation method. So for experimental purpose, we have taken two data sets. One is the simulated synthetic images in which we have simulated the noise. Another data set is a real ultrasound images in which by default noise is presented when we have acquired those images from a ultrasound machine. So these are the three synthetic images which we have taken. This is your phantom image. This is envelope detected ultrasonic image, and this is noise-free realistic ultrasound images. Okay. Now you can simulate number of images by corrupting these images with the noise. Okay. So I have shown you this one, that how would we do that. My slides got stuck. Okay, so here with these three simulated synthetic images, we are going to calculate the quantitative results, which I have shown you, that SNR, PSNR, MSC. So for that purpose, we need the ground truth image. Okay, so here you can see this is a ground truth image, right? And we have simulated a spectral image. So we have, as I've shown you in a Python, that we have created a noise for a Gaussian noise and salt pepper noise. Similarly, we have created a function in a MATLAB for simulating these images with a spectral noise. So we have created a MATLAB function so that we can simulate our images with the spectral noise. Okay, so by changing the variances, the value, we can simulate our images. So here we have taken a variance of 0.6 and we have simulated our image. So our spectral simulated image is this. Okay, as I've told you, for calculating the SNR, we need a original image and your resultant image. Okay, so here we haven't applied any filter, but just for our sake to know that how much SNR it is, we have calculated it is giving us 17.9 dB. Okay, And after applying the filters, so here what I have done, I have categorized the filters into 3 categories. The filters which are showing poor performance, the filters which are showing very good performance, and the filters which are showing excellent performance. So there are 3 categories. So these categories are poor performing filters, in which you can see we have a dB. See, if your dB is, if your SNR value is less, it means your filter is not performing good. If your SNR value is good and your results are visualizing good, then it means your filter is working good on that particular type of noise. So these filters are not good. As you can see, it's showing 17.81, 17.63, etc. Okay. I don't know, my slides are getting stuck. I'm again sharing it. Just pardon. Okay, now I believe my screen is visible. Okay. So these are the low performance filters. Then these are the filters which have showing median performance. You can see the values are 23.32 dB, 23.81 dB. And these filters are those filters which are showing good performance. And NTV one is our proposed one. You can see here it is giving 24.95 dB on a speckle simulated image. This is another image, synthetic image, in which I have shown a line profile. Okay, so you can understand it by looking at this figure. By looking at this figure, you can see this line, blue line. This blue line is a clean image. Okay, original image. Okay, this blue line is a original image which is before the simulation of a noise, and this green line is a speckle. This speckle noise. Okay, you can see a peaks here. And when we have applied a gamma based statistical filter on this image, okay, this red line is a filter. See what we have done, we have made a line profile of this figure. Okay, so in MATLAB we have a IM profile function. IM profile function. In Python you have to explore that how we can draw a profile line of an image. So here this blue line is a clean image line profile, and this green line is a speckle line profile. Okay, and red line is a NRSNL filter, and this red line here is a NTV filter. Okay, now you can clearly analyze the difference. Here we are not able to preserve the edges and corners. You can see. Okay, it removes the noise, but it is not able to preserve the edges and corners. But when we are looking at NTV, it tries to preserve the edges and corners as well, along with the removal of noise. Okay, so that's why NTV filter is performing better. So this is another speckle simulated image. This is a clean image, and in this we are simulated a noise with a 0.6 variance. This is a low performance filters. These are mediocre performance filters, and this is your high performing filters. Okay, so this is a data set 2. Data set is our, see, data set 1, I have told you that we have a clean images in which we are simulated a noise. Okay, another data set is a real ultrasound images which we have obtained from a ultrasound machines, in which by default noise is presented, right? So we haven't any ground truth for these real ultrasound images. So when I have tried to make a line profile of this image, I'll get this. So this is a line profile of an original image. You can see. Okay. So this is the line profile. And as I have shown you the synthetic image, we are the line profile of original image is in the form of a straight lines. Okay. and speckle is in form of these peaks. But here our original line profile, original image line profile of ultrasound image is in this way, because noise is presented here. So when we have applied a proposed filter on this, you can see along with removing a speckle noise, okay, it tries to preserve the corners and edges as well. So this is the benefit to show a image in a form of line profile. So you can see that NTV method is able to preserve the edges as well as it highlights the details which we need further. Okay. So this is this all was our visual evaluation. Now what we did, we evaluate our methods with the medical experts, which I have told that we have very poor quality, good quality. Okay, so according to that, the medical experts have given a number to images, and according to those 3 experts, we have calculated the mean opinion score. And we have found that NTV, that is the filter which is based on the Nakagami, has outperformed all the filters. Okay, so Nakagami total variation function method outperform all the methods in terms of reducing the speckle noise as well as preserving the image details. Okay, but total variation methods have some staircase artifacts. Okay, and these artifacts are due to some texture information which it interpreted as a noisy pixels, and it can be handled with the fuzzy sets. Okay, because it happens due to the fuzziness and uncertainties in ultrasound images, which is perfectly handled by nucleosophic domain. Nucleosophic is one of the generalization of a fuzzy domain. So this Nakagami total based variation method have been published in a SAGE publication. So nucleosophic has been proposed by Sumrandiche. It has 3 memberships, true membership, indeterminate membership, and false membership. So what we did here, we converted our image into nucleosophic domain. Then we have used the entropy to calculate the indeterminacy, and then we have applied a filtering operation, and then we again transform back our image into the gray level domain from the nucleosophic domain. Okay, so this all is the procedure. I'm not going into mathematics. This is a proposed algorithm. So again, now I have shown you the difference. So you can see this is a ground truth image. This is a speckle simulated image. This is a gamma distribution function filter. This is a gamma distribution function in a nucleosophic domain. This is a Nakagami. E is the Nakagami filter, and F is the Nakagami filter in a nucleosophic domain. So you can clearly analyze the results here. So you can see this is the original black dots is the original image, and green line is a noisy signal. Okay, so when we have applied a NRSNR filter, okay, means gamma based filter, gamma distribution based filter, you can see this type of red color. Red color is a performance of NRSNR filter. And here when we applied this gamma based filter in a nucleosophic domain, you can see the results, compare the results. We are getting better results. Similarly, when we applied the Nakagami total variation, our proposed method 1, over in this image, we will get this type of line profile. But when we have applied that Nakagami total variation method in the nucleosophic domain, you can see it clearly preserves the edges and corners which we need in our medical images. Right? It preserves all the corners along with the suppression of noise. So we have found that nucleosophic based methods have outperformed all other methods. And this is the dataset 2, which is your original real ultrasound images. I have shown here one example. This is a method which we have NRSNR in nucleosophic domain. This is a line profile, and this is a edge map of this method. Okay, so these are all other methods. Here we can see a comparison. This is a gamma statistic filter result. This is a gamma statistical filter in nucleosophic domain. This is a Nakagami statistical filter, and this is a Nakagami statistical filter in nucleosophic domain. So we have found that when we have applied the filters in a nucleosophic domain, we are able to preserve the edges and corners along with the suppression of noise. So this we have calculated the mean opinion score according to the experts. And we have found that nucleosophic domain filters outperform all other filters in terms of preserving textures, edges, along with the suppression of noise. So this paper we have published in IIT Image Processing, and this Neurosophic based Nakagami we have published in IRBM. So then what we have did, we have made a GUI, and we have mentioned all the filters which we have applied on experimentation purpose for images. After that, we have proposed some segmentation methods as well. So this is what the output we have obtained. So actually the purpose of this GUI is that we want to know that what type of effect we have on segmentation. So this is a result which we have obtained without removing noise on the segmentation accuracy. So when we haven't removed the noise and we have applied a segmentation technique over an image, we will get these results. And when we have applied a noise removal filter over an image and then we have applied a speckle reduction, we have seen that our results are getting improved. So this paper we have published in Biomedical Signal Processing and Control. So those were the statistical methods. Now come to the machine learning methods for image denoising. So these are categorized as a supervised, semi-supervised, and unsupervised learning methods. So supervised learning methods, you know that it uses the given labels to put the obtained features closer to the target for learning parameters and training the denoising model. Okay. And unsupervised learning methods uses the given training samples to find the patterns rather than label matching and finish the specific tasks such as unpairing the real low resolution images. So recently we have a cycle in cycle GAN, C in C GAN. Okay, we have used for it as a recovered a high resolution image. So you can explore that too. Then we have a semi-supervised learning methods. In this, it apply a model from a given data distribution to build a learner for labeling unlabeled samples. So this mechanism is favored by small sample tasks such as medical diagnosis. And there is one technique known as a semi-supervised learning sinogram restoration network, SLSRnet, which depends upon this technique. Okay, so there are a number of other techniques also mentioned as I have mentioned here in the links, like residual encoder decoder networks, multi-level wavelet CNN, pyramid real imaging denoising networks. So these networks are mentioned in a literature. You can explore it on a Google. So I have just shown a difference here that RedNet is giving this type of subjective evaluation, PridNet is this, and MWCNN is this. So here we can see that MWCNN is outperforming all these filters, okay, in terms of subjective evaluation and objective evaluation. Then we have a CNNs for image denoising. This you can also explore. Residual learning, we have, there are a number of methods available on residual learning. All the VGG and GoogleNet methods are effective for image denoising. But these methods have drawback, like these networks are very deep and it may result in vanishing or exploding the gradients. So if the network is wide, it might be subject to the phenomena of overfitting. Okay, so that's why ResNet has been proposed. Then we have again number of denoising techniques are available on generative adversarial networks also. You can also explore it. Okay, then the most famous one is denoising autoencoders. So autoencoders are tagged under self-supervised learning. Okay, some says it as unsupervised as they are independent of the label responses. When coming to the classification, they are used by neural networks to perform representation learning. So in this we have two components, encoder and decoder. Encoder learns how to compress the original input into a small encoding, and decoder learns how to restore the original data from that decoding generated by the encoder. Okay, so you can also find the details of this in Google. Here we have performing our image denoising with the help of this autoencoder. So encoding network will compress the input layer values, the bottleneck. Its results will work as input to the middle layer, and the decoder network job is to reconstruct the information and provide the results. Okay. So I'll show you the demo of this one also. So denoising autoencoders you can explore on Google if you are interested in it. So this is an output of autoencoder. So here we have taken a fashion MNST images. Okay. So you can see here we have a 10 label, 10 classes, 0 to 9, t-shirts, trousers, pullovers, dresses, sports, sandals. Then autoencoders we are using here to remove the noise from an image, and it is important to reduce its dimensionality. See, when we are saying that we have to remove a noise, it means that we are reducing the dimensionality of that image. We never increasing anything. In fact, we are reducing. So principal component analysis is used for this task, but PCA has its limitation. It only applies the linear transformations and also contain outliers. On the other hand, autoencoders can introduce non-linearity into the network with the help of their non-linear activation functions and the stack of multiple layers. So here I've just shown you a demo. Then I will go in the Google Colab. Okay, so here what we are doing, we are importing some important libraries and modules here like TensorFlow, Matplotlib, Sklearn, Pandas, NumPy, Seaborn. Then to read the CSV data, we need pandas.read.csv. Okay, or you can use keras.dataset in the library and then import the fashion_mnist and then use fashion.mnist.load_data to use the dataset. So here we are using train.head. It will show you the first 5 columns of the data frame. So there are 784 total pixels present in the data of size 20 into 28. So this data contains black and white images with the unsigned integers of range 0 to 255. And there is a need for scaling the images. So normalize the pixels. So here what we are doing, divided by 255 means that we are normalizing the pixel values by rescaling them to the range 0 to 1. So this is the first step to convert the data type from the data frame and a series to NumPy and the array. So now by using the holdout method, split the training and testing data into 80/20 ratio. We can see that we have taken test size 0.2. So we are taking here 18:20 ratio. Check the number of samples, whatever you got then. Okay, so to develop a generalized model, a bit of noise is added to the data to make it corrupt. Okay, so you can see here, which I have shown you earlier too, that here we are making a xtrain noisy, xtrain plus np.random.random. So here what we are doing, we are adding a noise. Okay, so xvel_noisy is our noise and we are adding our noise. Xvel_noisy is equal to np.clip xvel_noisy 0.1 Okay, so here we are corrupting our images with the level of noise, whatever you want to simulate. So only for the visualization purpose, the image is reshaped from here 1D to 2D array, 784 to 28 into 28. So we are using reshape here. Okay, so this is our actual images. This is when we have applied xtrain noisy. Okay, so we will get this type of noisy images. Okay, so this is an overview that this type of noise images, we have a clear images. When we have simulated a noise, then we will get this type of noisy images. Okay, so input sizes of 1D array here. Notice that the dense layer 64 produces the bottleneck. So the final layer at the decoder and gives the output of 784 units. So a sigmoid function gives the value between 0 and 1. And this layer decides whether to consider the noisy pixel or not. Okay, so here this we have got. Then input sizes of 1D array. Okay. So producing a denoised image. So this we are getting a denoised image. Okay, then we have plot the loss. So for plot loss history, so these are the commands. Then plot loss history. Okay, so for more details, you can go through this Coursera.org project autoencoders image denoising. This thing there, it also clearly have mentioned very clearly. Now let me again go to the Google Colab. Is my Google Colab is visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. So here you can see the things which I've just discussed with you. That is the autoencoder. Here we are talking, the Google Colab is on a convolutional autoencoder. So here again we have a all important libraries, NumPy, TensorFlow. Okay, then we have preprocesses the images. Then we have defined a function noise array. Okay, so we are taking a noise factor is 0.2. It's up to you that whatever noise you want to simulate. You can take a 0.4, 0.2, 0.3, whatever you can, whatever you want to do, you can simulate that much noise here, noise factor you can take. So this function we have created a noise function. Okay, then we have a display definition, array1, array2, then figure size, plot. Okay, then we have prepared the data. So we have load the fashion mnist.load data here, training data, test data. We are normalizing and reshaping the data, preprocess. Then we are creating a copy of the data with added noise. So we have now noisy train data, noisy test data. Okay. Now we are adding a noise to train data, noise to test data. So we have another variable here, noisy train data and noisy test data. Now display the train data and version of it with the added noise. So we have displayed here training data and noisy training data. So you can see here, this is our train data, okay, and this is our noisy data, okay. Then we have built the encoder. So this is our encoder layers. You can see we have used con2d, max pooling, con2d, max pooling. Okay, so I'm not going in a detail of convolutional. I believe that you people know all those things. Then we have a decoder, but in decoder, what we have to do, we have to make a transpose. So we are using here convo2d, we have to use here convo2d transpose. Okay, strikes we have to use, activation function we are using relu, padding is same. Okay, so padding, as I've told you, that sometimes we use mirror, sometimes we use same, sometimes we use 0, sometimes we use 1. So it's up to your choice. Then we have called an autoencoders, model input text, optimizer, Atom, and then loss, binary and cross entropy. So you will get this one, which I've just discussed with you in PPT. Okay. Then autoencoder fit, we have called all these things. Now here for so that the computational cost would not be more in running, because it takes a lot of time. I have just taken a box of 10 so that you can see the results. It doesn't mean that it would give you a good result. You can change this epochs into 50, 100, 150 according to your choice, and then analyze the results. Okay, and then we have predicting the results. So you can see predictions, autoencoder predict test data. So as I've told you that I haven't given a number of good epochs here, so it doesn't give you very good results. So as you increase the number of epochs, iterations would be more, then your results would be very good. Okay, so this is the test data. Then autoencoder fit here, again we have given a predictions. Then you can see it predicts the noisy test data after removal the noise. So this is your noisy data, noisy test data, and this is the prediction. So this is a autoencoder. Okay. Then we have a I'm going again back to the slides.
Madam, your slides are not visible, madam.
Yeah, I'm going back to the slide. Okay, so this is all about the denoising. Now I'm going towards image fusion. So image fusion is what? Image fusion means that we are integrating two images. We are adding two images, we are fusing two images. Okay, so why we are doing this image fusion? So that we can get an enhanced image. So that the details which are not visible in a original images, and when we are applying a fusion operation on those two images, and then we are fusing those two images, we will get a better image. we can see a more highlighted details. So the process of integrating two or more images with different characteristics in order to integrate the relevant information from the source images into a rich information single image is known as a fusion. So you can see this is a one image A, this is a source image B. When we have applied a fusion rule, we will get a fused image. Okay. So images obtained from a single sensor or modality are not enough to accurate realizing of the real case of objects such as medical image or in the remote sensing applications. So we have a different types of application areas like remote sensing, machine vision, defect inspection, robotic fields, large-scale logistics, medical imaging, battlefield monitoring, aerial imaging, military areas, and weapon detection, where we need a fusion technique. Okay, but today I'm only considering the medical imaging and the types of techniques of image fusion. So classification of image fusion lies into four categories. One is multi-view, multi-model, multi-focus, and multi-temporal. Multi-modal fusion is what that we are talking about a multi-modalities. It's related to the medical images in a medical domain. Here, you have different types of modalities you are acquiring from different sensors, and then you are going to fuse those multi-modality images into a single image so that you can get a better features, highlighted details of that particular image. Okay. Multi-view fusion is performed on images which are captured by a single sensor at the same time but from different point of view. Multi-focus fusion is performed on images captured with various focal lengths. And multi-temporal is performed on the images of the same scene but captured at different times. Okay, so these are different levels of image fusion. One is pixel level, second is feature level, third is decision level. So these are different types of fusion categories, classification, multi-view, multi-model, multi-focus, multi-temporal means the way in which we are acquiring the images. These are the types of image fusion techniques. Okay, so generally all image fusion techniques are categorized as pixel level, feature level, and decision level. Whether we are talking about a fusion of satellite images, fusion of medical images, fusion of sensor images, fusion of multi-exposure images. So all these are three categories: pixel, feature, and decision. So fusion at pixel level is concerned with the information linked with the pixels. Okay, and feature level is the next state which extracts various attributes like intensities, edges, and textures, and then fuses these to get the final image. Decision level is top level of the fusion, where input to the fusion algorithm comes from the initial level recognition and categorization. So these are further categorization of image fusion techniques. Generally, it categorized as a spatial domain and frequency domain. But nowadays, there is a third category also, machine learning based fusion techniques. So spatial domain techniques are those techniques you all know that which are directly operated on a pixel, which are directly applied on a pixel. Those are your spatial domain techniques. Frequency domain techniques are those techniques in which we are transforming our image from spatial domain to frequency domain, and then we are applying the operation, and then we are transforming back our image from frequency domain to ray level domain. Okay, so this is what we have. So this is a proposed method one which we have proposed, and it is published in Applied Soft Computing. Again, in this method, what we did, as I've told you that there are different categories like frequency domain. So here we have applied a frequency domain method, which is your wavelet domain. So we have integrated the wavelet domain with the nucleosophic domain. As I have told you that we have analyzed, we have found that we can obtain a very good results in the nucleosophic domain. So we try to integrate this nucleosophic with wavelet, stationary wavelet transform. So what we did here, we have passed one source image, then we have applied it, transform the nucleosophic domain. In nucleosophic domain, we have three membership degrees: true membership, false membership, and indeterminate membership. So true membership will tell you about the true objects. False membership will tell you about the false objects, your background pixels, you can say. Indeterminate pixels, indeterminate components are those pixels which we are not sure that whether they are lie in a true or in a false. Let me give you one example. Suppose there is a one cancer given in a particular organ, okay, and we want to extract that particular tumor, right? Now the boundary of that tumor, we are not so much where that the pixels which lie on the boundaries, whether they lie in a tumor or they lie in a background. So we are something like there is a fuzziness, ambiguity, indeterminacy. So those pixels which are lie on the edges, those pixels are indeterminate pixels. But when we are trying to do it in a fuzzy, then in fuzzy we have two membership degree, true or false, whether the pixel lie in the foreground or in the background. But the pixels which are lying the edges, we are not sure that where it lies. Okay, so to handle that problem, we are applying this indeterminacy degree, and that is your neutosophic domain. So we have applied both source images in neutosophic domain. After applying neutosophic domain, we have transformed this TIF into a wavelet transform. In wavelet transform, we again, as the functionality of characteristic of wavelet, it divides the image into 4 components. Then we have get low LL components from both these images, and then we have applied some fusion rule, and then we will get a fused image. Okay, so this paper which I have told you that it's published in Applied Soft Computing. This is a second method which we have proposed on a multi-model, you can say medical images. Okay, so here we have taken one MRI image and another one is FDG image. Okay, so MRI image, so the challenge which we have faced here is that MRI image is gray level image, black and white, grayscale image, whereas FDG image is a colored image. Okay, so we need to fuse grayscale image with the colored image here, and in a such a way so that we can preserve the details and features of an image. Okay, so here what we did, we have used a guided filter and applied some operations like blurring, then sharpening, and then we have applied a post fusion rule here, and then we will get a final fused image. So you can see the results here. This is a reference ground truth image. This is a MRI image. This is an FDG image. Okay. When we have fused this MRI with FDG, okay, after fusing, we will get by applying PC. When we have applied PC on this on the fusion of this B and C, we will get this. On MSVD method, we will get this. Okay. And on proposed method, we have obtained this one. So you can see that our proposed technique is able to get more better results as compared to these two techniques, and it is more near to this reference ground truth image. So this paper have been published in Journal of Artificial Intelligence. So this is another example. Again, this is a reference image, MRI and FDG. This is a result of PCA fusion. This is MSVD fusion, and this is proposed technique. You can see the details are highlighted, which we haven't get in a reference image also, but we can see all those details here after fusing these two images. So these are some other papers related to ARCON and AIRE related to image fusion. This is another category which I have discussed with you, that deep learning based image fusion categories, in which number of work has been published in literature on the basis of convolutional neural network, CRS and SAE. Okay, and number of domains are there like digital photography, like multifocus images, multi-exposure images, multi-view images, multi-model images are your medical domain images, and remote sensing images like your PAN images, satellite images, hyperspectral images. So this is the method 3. This paper is in under revision. Most probably it will get accepted now in 2 or 3 days. So this method we have proposed again with the integration of fuzzy with convolutional neural network. Okay, so this is the method. Here what we did, we have integrated the CNN with the fuzzy. Okay, so again we have applied the fuzzy set, and then we have applied a CNN, and then we have obtained a number of steps like score map, focus map, binary segmented map, initial decision map, and final decision map. And then this we have a fused image. So this code we have implemented in a MATLAB. So I've just show you a snippet here, not exact code. So this is a, we have reading an image and displaying an images. This is, we are displaying an output image after applying a CNN underscore fusion. This line number 73. Here we have applied a source image preparation at line number 3. We have applied a normalization, as I told you in a denoising autoencoder also, divided by 255. Okay, then we have loading the CNN model here, convolution 1, path size 2, number of layers. Then go forward to the networks. So this is, we have generated the focus map generation, the code for focus map generation. Then this is initial segmentation. And then we will get the consistency verification. And then we have applied the fusion rule. Okay, so you can see this is image 1. Now this is you can see clearly in this image, the far objects are blurred. The near objects are very good. But in this image, the far objects are very good, but the near object is blurred. Okay, so when we have fused these two images, we will get this one. Okay, similarly, you can see this portion is blurred. This is good. Here in this image, this portion is blurred and this is good. Okay, so when we have integrate these two images, we will get this one, better, enhanced image. Okay, so this is a comparison of CNN and this is a proposed FCNN method. So again, as I've discussed with you in a denoising, again for evaluating any method, we need evaluation metrics. So here we are considering two types of evaluation metrics. One is without reference, another is with reference. Without reference metrics are those metrics when when the reference images are not available, ground truth images are not available, then we have to apply these without reference evaluation metrics. But once the reference images are available, then you can apply this PSNR, MI, and SSIM, etc. Okay. So this is a multi-model image fusion. You can see we have shown this one block. This is a CT image. This is an MRI image. Okay, and when we have fused, you can see these three images compared. You will get more details in this fused image. So this is the benefit of this multi-model fusion. Okay, so these are some publications which we have published related to fusion and denoising. Let me go back again on Google Colab to show you the fusion. Demo. Is my sheet visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So this is a demo for a image fusion. Okay, I haven't used here CNN, etc. because it will be too cumbersome to run the program here. I will just show you a demo of it. Okay, so we have installed the OpenCV Python. Then we have to load the data. Okay, so for importing, we are using the library matplotlib.pyplot as PLT, and then we are using matplotlib.image as mpimg, right? Then for displaying an image, because we are using matplotlib, see, it depends upon the Python library. If you are using OpenCV2, then you have to use CV2. If you want to use Pillow library, then you have to use Pill. Okay, so here we are using matplotlib, so we are using mpimg.imread. So syntaxes you will get from the Google, everything is available there. So imga mpimg.imread, we are reading an image here. And to display an image, we are writing plt.imshowimg. Okay, so if you want to run it on an Anaconda, you have to give a path like this. Okay, but as I am running it on a Google Colab, so I have to upload an image here. And if you are running it in any Python IDL, you have to give a path like this, in this way. Okay, so and then I have given imga.shape to know about the shape of an image. Okay, so when I have displayed an image, you can see this image. You can see the far objects are blurred as compared to near objects. Okay, and the shape of this image is 520, 584, and 3. It's a 3D image. Similarly, I have run another image, image B. Just wait. Okay, so this is IMGB. Here we are reading this second image. Okay, and you can see here the far objects are more clear as compared to near objects. So its size IMB dot shape will give you 525/84. 3. Okay, now load and show images. So this is our RGB image. We have to convert into a grayscale image. For grayscale image, we have defined a function RGB to gray. Okay, so this is the function for converting into RGB to grayscale because we have a colored image and we are not able to directly fuse an image, colored image. So we need to convert into a grayscale image here. So we have converted this IMGAG RGB to gray. IMPG RGB to gray. So in MATLAB, similarly, we use RGB to gray function, and then we convert our images from colored images to grayscale image. Okay, so this is just we are converting our images into a grayscale, right? Then we have applied this fusion rule. Okay, so this fusion rule is there. We have created a filter H, then we have created a G, then we have created a AA and BP filter. Then we have applied this DA and P upon with that filter. Okay, we will get this CMAP, okay, segmented image. Then we have to generate a decision map. So this is the decision map, or you can say a fused image. So that's all from my side. If you have any question, you people can ask me. Now I'm open for questions.
In fusion, on which condition the clarity will increases?
Pardon, I'm not getting your question.
Means in fusion we are fusing from clear image to blur image. So which condition we are applying so that clarity is refining?
As I've told you, the number of fusion techniques available. Okay, so you have to apply. Now again, it depends upon an image and what type of image you have and what type of techniques you have. Okay, so you have to apply the technique. Like, see, if you are applying the multi-model images, okay, it depends upon the modality. If you are applying on a multi-model images, then your motive is to preserve all the textures and features. Okay, if you don't want to lose any important feature from a medical image because it is very necessary for post-processing tasks for segmentation and classification. But if you are talking about the multi-focus images in which far objects are blurred and near objects are blurred, and you have to integrate those techniques. So there are number of techniques available. Like I have told you, spatial domain and frequency domain, and deep learning techniques are also available. So you have to apply on your images and then you have to analyze. Okay, number of fusion rules are available. You can also develop your fusion rule like as we did in our 3 techniques.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, you have done a lot of work in this image fusion. So is there still scope for research in this area? I mean, if someone wants to pursue.
Yeah, sure. No, there is a lot of scope because number of work has been going in a multi-sensor images and in this satellite images in order to know about the agricultural land or snow land or weather predictions.
Okay.
The number of scope is there. Number of techniques are going to be developed, like as I discussed today, there is a CNN autoencoders, there is a GAN. So there is always possibility that we can improve the things. There's a never-ending research. Research means that we are doing research. So there's a lot of scope.
Okay, ma'am. In case of these defects detection, so is there? I mean, so there is still scope in defect detection if someone wants to go for image fusion.
Yeah, because with the help of image fusion, you are going to enhance your image. See, like I'm taking an example of a multi-model. As I've shown you one MRI image and CT image. Okay, now in MRI and CT image, there is some tumor or there is some problem, there is some disease which is not properly visible in only in MRI or in a CT. Okay, when we are going to fuse that MRI and CT collectively, okay, then that disease would be more highlighted and we can segment it more properly, more accurately and precisely. Right? So this is a possibility that we can, but the condition is that for doing this fusion, you need two images, right?
So the size
A
of
set
data
of two
set is
images.
important. Okay.
Yeah, you need two set of images, A and B.
Two.
Then only
Okay.
you can fuse, and then only you can combine two images, right?
Okay. Okay, ma'am.
You
Thank
can't
you, ma'am.
see, you can't combine. Like I have seen some students, my students, they are working on a COVID, and they have said that they have applied a fusion algorithm. They have made a CNN model to apply a fusion algorithm. So see, she said that she has used X-ray, lungs images, and used CT. Okay. Now she said that she has applied a fusion rule. Now my question is that how could we fuse X-ray with CT? X-ray features are
Yes.
totally different from CT features, so you have
CT
to
features. Yes.
take care of it that also. You can't fuse any two images, no? You have to think over
Yes.
it that what type of two modalities can be fused, right?
Okay. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Hello, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes. Yes.
Hello.
Yes.
Ma'am, whether the image fusion is the same as image super resolution? Are they same both?
Yeah, super resolution is also a kind of enhancement, right? So fusion is also kind of enhancement. So super resolution, you can, as I have discussed with you, that semi supervision algorithms, your super resolution lies in that. So it is also enhancement. But super resolution you can apply on a single image. See, what is the difference between enhancement and denoising? In denoising, in your image, there is some noise presented. Okay. You have to apply a filter in order to remove that noise. But in enhancement, there is no noise. It could be possibilities there that there is some contrast, there is a poor contrast, there is some brightness issue. Then you have to enhance. You don't have to remove any noise from that. You have to enhance. So this is the basic difference between enhancement and denoising. And super resolution can be applied on a single image as well.
Okay, okay, ma'am. Okay, thanks.
Any other question? See, if you need any type of help regarding denoising or fusion, I'm always open. I have a very big team, and I'm always open for a collaborative work. Okay, so if you need any type of help, you people can approach me.
So good morning, ma'am. This is Dr. Kavita, and thank you for sharing your excellent research work. So actually, I want to know that like whatever the data set you have used, is it publicly available set you have used or like a private data set?
Regarding which fusion?
Like overall, I am asking in all the different kind
for
of.
denoising, see, for denoising, I have collected the data from PGIMER Chandigarh, but that research I did in 2011. 2011 I started, so that time we haven't so much publicly data set available. But nowadays, at this time, there's a plenty of data set available. You can explore Keras, TensorFlow. There you can find a data set, Kaggle. In Kaggle also there's a number of data set available. So now I don't think that there's an issue of a publicly available data set. Okay, but that this data set I have collected from PGIMER Chandigarh on thyroid nodules, ultrasound images.
Okay, thank you.
Any doubts from the participants? Deepika madam, there are no further representations from the participants. So,
Okay.
We will stop the session here. Thank you so much, madam. Thank you so much for giving an enlightened lecture to all the participants. We are all enjoyed denoising as well as the fusion with the medical applications with various modalities, medical modalities. That's a very nice session, madam. As you mentioned, there are still a lot of research scope in this area. We can work with various models, various noisy conditions we can work. So this can be a good research exploration to all the participants. I am thankful on behalf of all the participants as well as from Vignan and also from the Atal Madam. Thank you so much being a part of this FDP. From our side, as a token of gratitude, we are presenting a small digital award, Madam. Please accept our award, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Please
Thank you, ma'am.
accept our thanks note, Madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Madam, thank you so much for your informative and insightful lecture, Madam.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Now we came to the day 4, session 1 is over. Session 2 starts at 12 p.m. I request all the participants please join at 12 p.m. sharp.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Voice actually. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.